Hey guys, Sin down here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai, or the Seven Deadly Sins 278, Rising Up Against Despair. Despair being Mael, the angel of despair, the angel of death. And this chapter was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what happens next chapter. I think we've had a week break, so this chapter was even more kind of astounding to me, and even more. It made me so much more happy than it would have done if it just continued week by week. But I enjoyed it so much, and the chapter starts with beams of like light and darkness, both angelic and demonic. Angelic as in the goddesses, raining down upon, I think, Lioness. Basically it's raining down everywhere. I think Griamore and Dreyfus and Jericho and Slater, I think they're guarding Lioness. I can't really remember. It could be Camelot as well, or it could be Camelot the other way around. But either way, these beams of light and darkness are just plummeting down on the city like meteorites, destroying everything, destroying walls, castles and everything like that. Dreyfus is trying to escort Griamore away, carrying him on his shoulder. Slater is pointing to where they need to evacuate to, all these citizens and stuff like that, all the normal innocents. And then we see Jericho telling like freaking veterans and stuff to get their asses out of there, and like, don't give up, get your asses out of here. So that part was really cool. And then we see Hauser talking to Gila, and he's really concerned about what the hell's going on in the direction that Elizabeth was just taken in. But he's also like concerned for Diane's emotions and how she's going to deal with King being in that area. And he's like, oh, I'm sure Diane must be really worked up about this whole situation. And then he looks around, notices Diane's not there, and Gila then looks at him and realizes that something's wrong, and they all realize that Diane isn't with them. So Diane definitely was going to go towards the Sins. There's no way she was going to leave King alone to die against freaking Mael. So we see these beams of light back at where Gowther and the rest of them are. And this beam of light is gonna hit Gowther straight in the face and possibly kill Elizabeth, King, and Hawke behind him. And then suddenly it just vanishes into like this portal, and there's only one character we know of like that can do something like that. And King kind of recognizes it instantly, and so does Hawke. He's like, this beastly smell, and King's just there like, bruh, is that you, Oslo? And Oslo just pops out of this portal, and he seems to have just diverted the beam of light, and he took no damage at all, which is quite he might be quite a Hack's character to have against Mael, unless Mael grips him, in which case he's dead. But then he gets shot directly to a beam of light gets shot directly towards Oslo, and he's just there with his maw open. And then we see Diane's hand just pop out of his throat, and I was really surprised by this, because she punches away a beam of light, and I was like, whoa, wait a sec, everybody else has been like getting destroyed. Tarmiel and Sariel just got rinsed by a beam of darkness, and you out here punching these beams of light and beams of darkness away. And then she's commenting about how all hell's broken out where King and everyone was. And then I realized here, just by the shading that Nakaba did, that Diane's utilizing her steel form. It must be either her steel form or her diamond form. She doesn't look like she's in diamond form. I think it's a steel form. I think it's like full metal or something like that. And she's just there deflecting all these shots. So she's strong enough to be taking out like this just like the dispersal dispersal, is that well, yeah, the dispersal of energy that Mael is kind of undergoing from having gained all that energy and all that power. And then Oslo's just there like glad to be back with King and stuff like that, and she's there protecting them, and she's there reunited with King once again. So she kind of announces who she is and stuff like that, very kind of martial arts movie kind of thing. And then we see she continues to kind of deflect all these beams, protecting her boys behind her. And Gowther quick-time fills her in by just shooting the memories into her head about everything that's gone down. So she then knows that Estarossa is actually a Mael, because she wouldn't have regained those memories, because she was never privy to that information anyway. So she never knew. Everybody else, like Tarmiel, Sariel, Elizabeth, everybody else, Zeldris and all those guys who'd regained those memories, and they were like, they'd all shit hit the fan and everything like that. It wouldn't have been like that for King, Elizabeth, Ban and all these guys, Eskimo and all these guys. So Elizabeth is genuinely surprised by the fact that Estarossa was actually Mael of the Four Archangels, and that ended the war 3,000 years ago, because they didn't actually see that part. They only saw the part that Gloxinia and Dolo were both involved in, and she is also kind of told through these memories of what happened to Sariel, Tarmiel and Derrieri, and she realizes that they're all dead. So then as this is going on, we see that ball of light surrounding Mael kind of shrinking, and Gowther realizes that, oh shit, like he's about to attack. This is the part where we need to pick up the pace. So as the light is shrinking, we see our boy Mael in his new form. This got to be thumbnail material. It's spoilers deluxe, but it's got to be thumbnail material. I'm gonna save this right now, because we see our boy Mael in like he's got some new robes like at the bottom of his robes near his ankles, and actually far past his ankles. You see kind of like this goddess energy vibe kind of thing. In the kind of stitching, it looks really cool. It's like this pattern going across the bottom, and then you see like these flames of darkness on his sleeves, only going up like halfway up his forearm, and then he has 3 wings of complete black and 3 wings of angelic white. And as the part that really got me was obviously his hair's come back and his hair's really long again, just like the Mael of old. But the part that really shook me is he has this veil, this pure white veil with just 4 symbols of darkness across the front, or going down the front in a column, and those are the 4 symbols of the commandments he's taken, the top being love, which is also the one that Estarossa had. And then he has 2 projections, like just 2 projections, like these horn-like projections coming out of his head, also covered in that white veil, and he just looks crazy. It's like when Ichigo went full hollow form, and he had horns, he had a mask, it's like that, and his hair was long. Exact same vibes I was getting. I just saw this and I was like, God damn, this looks so awesome. This was the hypest thing for me in a long time, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. And just seeing how Diane, King and Gowther react, and they're all shitting themselves, and then you look at Elizabeth, the optimist, the one who's always like ready, and she's just like, everyone run. And I was like, yo, they're done, GG, it's gone. His power level is over 200,000. I think back when Meliodas fought Escanor, his power level was within the ballpark of like 150 to 175 ish, and this is at 200k. I'm not a big fan of these numerical power levels. I prefer to just see people's reactions to how strong people are, but it's good to know in this certain situation. So then we see Mael getting ready to attack, and the top kind of character for love in the whatever demonic language it is disappears from his veil and then appears in his hand, also being mixed with what looks to be white magic. So it seems to be like light magic. So he's mixing dark energy with light energy. So he's mixing demonic powers with goddess powers, and that's very, very critical, because that can be damaging to either one of the 2 most powerful races. So he then he builds up this power in his hand with the symbol of love there, and it just explodes, and then you see this double spread of like this huge atom bomb seems to have just gone off. The whole top part of wherever they were, Heaven's Theatre, just completely decimated, and you see the Sins and Elizabeth, they're just completely shook. They can't do anything about it. Elizabeth can't even react in time to like put up a barrier or something, or like go underground like Dolo did, or maybe she did it earlier. They just completely get decimated, but somehow they're all still alive. King is the first one to actually talk, and he asks for Elizabeth to heal Diane, but it turns out that these commandments seem to have different properties now that they've been mixed with this kind of goddess type of energy, because I swear the original commandment of love was that if you harbored hatred in your heart towards Estarossa, who had the commandment of love, you were rendered powerless against him. But in this situation, he's attacked them, and they seem to be incredibly injured, as you can tell by all the blood and stuff all over them, especially seeing Diane. But then they get woozy, and they seem to be happy and really feeling warm and fuzzy inside, and they just go to sleep, essentially. Even Elizabeth is affected by this. So I was like, yo, this is it seems like the commandments that Mael has have now undergone a different twist because of the kind of goddess influence on it. So I'm not too sure exactly what's going to go on, but at this point you see Mael kind of just stood there kind of victorious, but the symbol of love appears back on the top of his veil, and he's cool, and he's just looking down on Diane and everything. He's looking down on Elizabeth and all that, but then you notice that Elizabeth stood there, and she's got that kind of haze around her head, which is usually symbolic of Gowther having tampered with someone's mind. So it turns out Gowther used a technique called Sense Opener to kind of relinquish the effect of Mael's attack, which made them all feel sleepy and made them all feel woozy, and basically they were all about to die, going into their final sleep. But Gowther kind of made them sensitive to their pain again, which kind of reawoke them. What's the word for reawakening? But so he kind of just made them sensitive to their pain again. That cleared their heads, and they didn't fall asleep or anything like that. So Obviously this doesn't seem to work on Gowther for some strange reason. I think it might just be because he's a doll, and maybe because of his lack of emotion and stuff like that, he won't be affected by this kind of sleepiness, wooziness, going into that sleep of pleasure kind of thing, that final sleep. And if he hadn't woken up, Diane even says that we would have been dead if he hadn't woken us up. So then I think Elizabeth provides, she shoots up some like magic healing straight towards Diane and King, so they get some quick time heals. And then Gowther calls for it. He's like, let's settle this with that technique. So they've got a technique planned out. I don't know what it is, but he pulls out his twin bow heret, and he pulls out his I think we've seen this technique before, kaleidoscope. It's just a huge like ball of energy, and whatever he's going to do, I don't know. King gets prepared, Diane gets prepared. Final page, you just see Gowther aiming down at Mael, and you see Diane and King both ready to kick some ass. But we know the way this is going to go. The attack is going to look awesome. They're going to think they've won. Miles going to be uninjured. He's going to kick them. He's going to body them. He's going to body them easy. Grim Reaper's going to be pissed, but he's going to body them for jokes. And the way the one comment that really hyped me up in the comment section of Manga Stream was, we're just going to see like Miles do this world-ending attack once everyone's already down, and he's going to be like, I'm going to end the world, and he's going to bring down like a meteor or some shit and almost ready to blow shit up. And then we're just going to see one blank page with just the words full counter in it. And if that happened, I would just die. It would be completely crazy. And then we'd see Bond, Meliodas, Wild come back to kick some ass. But if that happened, I would be so shook. And I think that's generally the way it's gonna go. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen exactly like that, like with full counter coming out. But I think this does now call for the heavy kind of hitters of the sins to come out. I mean, like, not saying that Diane, King, and Gowther aren't strong in and of themselves, but we really need someone like Bon who survived Purgatory. We need Wild, someone who's fought the freaking Demon King thousands of times and has made it back alive, possibly due to maybe Hack's regenerative powers. And we need Meliodas with his full counter, just because that ability in and of itself against Mael with his magical abilities, especially if he's throwing commandments out with like goddess energy behind it. I don't know what the hell that was, but he did something crazy. But we're going to need Meliodas to full counter some of that shit. So let me know what you guys thought of this review. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter, because this chapter was actually pretty dope. Like, all things aside, it was a really dope chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.